Hello, my friends. My name is Brent. I am a productivity coach. And if this is your first time coming to this channel, I welcome you. Here we talk about how to become self-actualized. In the last video in particular, I talked in very great detail about what that means and the different ways that we can become actualized. But generally speaking, what we're doing is we're putting together all of the different pieces that need to be put in place in order for a sense of holistic productivity to emerge. Sustainable high-level productivity. So being in this mental, emotional, physical place where you're doing your work every day, you're doing a good job of it, you're not procrastinating, you are offering your greatest gifts to the world, and in general, we're just in a place with life that we want to be, where we're having fun and we're fulfilled and it's creative and it's great. That's what we're aiming for. That's where this ship is headed. So today I felt this inspiration to talk about an aspect of productivity that I don't think I've even alluded to at all, or if I have, it hasn't been in the last couple of years at least. And it's this subject of sales. So the title of today's video is How to Sell Something. I wanted to talk about this because for a few reasons. One is that for a lot of us here, so say you're a young person and you're just getting started on your career, or let's say you currently have work with a job in a company and you are looking to break free of that and start your own thing. If it is your desire to take control of your financial destiny, let's call it. In other words, if it's your desire to be in control of your own time, to call your own shots and spend your time the way you want to, then becoming self-employed becomes necessary for that, for reasons that are perhaps obvious. And from here, you can become self-employed, so you're just one professional working with your customers, and that's great. Or you can grow a business that has staff and eventually throws off passive income and requires less and less of your presence. But I would suggest that cultivating the capacity to sell something is an absolutely pivotal, central skill that must be cultivated and learned. And there are a number of obstacles there. A huge obstacle is that sales as an area of study has a very bad reputation, as we're going to get into. I have a section where I want to talk about that. And really, to get to the end of it, I'm going to tell you that the bad association that we have with sales is really more when it comes to unethical sales that we've seen in our lives. If we've ever been on the receiving end of an unethical sale of some kind, it's a really bad feeling and it sucks. And we're all in agreement that there should be none of that, that whenever it happens, it should stop happening and justice should be brought to those who sell in unethical ways. Again, as we're going to discuss. But there's another major obstacle to sales, which is that more and more as time goes on and as newer and younger generations come into the world, there's less and less of an impetus to engage with people directly. So people are less and less willing over time to directly encounter a person in real life. And if a person is, it can be very stressful and uncomfortable, and lately there's this great sense of awkwardness when it comes to meeting somebody in public or meeting a stranger, making a new friend out of nowhere, like say if you meet somebody in a room or at a party or something. And so then you add on top of that this idea that you're going to sell something to somebody that you don't know and you've just met. It can be really stressful for a lot of people. And so part of the thesis of this video, in addition to teaching you how to sell, is that I would really truly love to encourage you to consider learning sales and mastering it over time. In my own life and my own upbringing, the only job that I've had like little high school jobs here and there, but in terms of like jobs with like salaries that I held for long periods of time, the only position that's ever been has been sales. That's the only thing that I've done for another company. And I actually, looking at it now, I come from a lineage of salespeople. So my dad is a career salesman, and both my paternal grandparents are also, they've made their living through selling their own wares directly and getting into sales relationships with people. And so I was cut from the cloth, so to speak, and I found it very natural to move into a sales kind of position. When, for the the job that I held the most, I was a charity fundraiser, which you wouldn't really consider that to be a kind of sales position, but it is. Even though I'm not giving a product to somebody, I'm at this meeting point where I meet somebody and I would get them to consider my charity. A lot of the cases, it was Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto and a few other ones, Plan, the International Child Aid Charity. And sometimes people would hear about this for the first time, and my job would be to meet with these people, sometimes on the street, sometimes in malls, sometimes door to door, and later on within Toronto's airport, Billy Bishop, I would see if people were interested in buying or signing up, enrolling for a monthly donation with my charity. As I did this, I became very good at it, and I became one of the highest performing, consistently high performing fundraisers in the entire company. And I became so good at it that I was breaking team records and breaking regional records. And I was doing this. It really felt, especially near the end, like I was able to just show up and just sign up as many donations as I possibly needed. I would show up just for the very beginning of the shift, and I would sign up a whole day's worth of donations in the first couple hours, and then the rest of the day would be spent just relaxing and kind of like having a good time, hanging out with my coworkers, which of course made the atmosphere of that particular booth so light and attractive that more and more people wanted to come basically of their own accord and sign up for donations anyways. And so then that contributed more to the amount of success that we were able to generate at that booth. So the reason why I'm telling you all this is because I guess so that you can trust that I have some authority to talk about this, because I'm aware that you can Google or do a YouTube search for how to sell something and you'll just find tons and tons of content, and a lot of it is the same thing over and over again. The difference with this video is not only am I going to share with you actual techniques and philosophy on how to sell something in such a way that it's natural and good, and so that both you and the customer or the client leave the sales feeling uplifted and grateful for what occurred, but I'll share with you how to do it so that you don't feel like you're being unethical. Because imagine the freedom that would be available for you if you're a sole business person, if you sell, you do web development for people, or you want to sell, whatever, you want to start a new business of some kind, or you want to get some investors to sign up for what you're doing. All of that is the same. If you can do it so that you can trust that you are adding value and benefit to the world, that your presence is ultimately a benefit for the people whose lives you show up in, then that will allow you to show up without feeling self-conscious. It'll allow you to show up without sort of pulling your punches or kind of like awkwardly apologizing as you say what you do. You will be able to know all the way down to your core that you are a gift to this person's world when you show up in their world. And to be able to know that and trust that all the way down is so powerful. And as you will likely find as you go into this, it actually does most of the selling for you. If you can achieve that level of comfort and confidence in yourself and in what you're selling, then it's just really a downhill movement from there. It's very easy. You can speak naturally. You can act naturally. You don't have to put on some sort of weird sales demeanor of some kind. You can just be yourself. It really feels just like a conversation with somebody, and that's how it should feel. And you won't have to apply any pressure tactics either. You won't have to push energy or force energy or make somebody buy something. Ultimately, the sale is just about showing up with value, demonstrating and explaining the value, naming the price, and facilitating the sale. It can be that simple, and it should be that simple. It shouldn't exhaust you. If it feels exhausting, then you're doing it wrong. And so then even that, in terms of the value and the benefit and the import of learning sales, it goes more than just being able to sell something and make money, which of course is incredibly important and valuable. But in addition to that, it has all these secondary and tertiary effects in other areas of your life. For example, if you have any issues with confidence, this will solve them. It will teach you how to be confident. And why would it teach you how to be confident? Because it'll teach you how to not care what people think about you, which is this coveted skill. How to not care what people think about you, how to not care if people judge you. What else? It will help you, it'll teach you how to resolve conflict. So anywhere there's conflict in your life, you can resolve it. It'll teach you how to make friends. So if you are a 30-something or a 40-something kind of person and you feel like you want to make friends and you're like, well, how do I do that? How do I go out and make friends? It's like this weird kind of issue. You will know how to do it if you've mastered sales, because again, there's so much overlap between these two. And finally, it will teach you how to inspire cooperation with those who have something that you need. And just so you can think in your life, what types of people could you really benefit to have them cooperate with you? If these are people who hold high up positions or have, say, a certain amount of money that that you need to invest in what you're doing, or if you need help from somebody to open up a particular door of opportunity for you, all of that comes down to this core skill of sales, of being able to sell something. So good. And then finally, I guess the final piece before, and I will get into it, right, is that you can see, like, even as I'm talking to you right now, like, you can see, like, I care really deeply about this subject and I have a lot of affection for it. It makes me sad to think that people are trying to avoid sales or feel like sales is a bad practice, or they're trying to position their lives and their business lives so that they don't have to do sales. So maybe they try to only like put little bits of text online so like you don't have to interact with the person. And so hopefully as I talk about the importance of sales, you're also being sold on it. And so you can, on a meta level as we go through this, you can get a sense of the importance of sales and what it's like to be on the receiving end of ethical sales. And I'll explain that to you. So good. So that is an intro. So now we can get into the stuff. Okay, unethical sales. What are unethical sales? I have 5 things for you. Lying or withholding essential truth. So if you're selling, say, a car, a used car, and you lie about an element of the car, or you withhold something, some sort of like piece of information that if the person buying the car from you knew that piece of information, they would just definitely straight up not buy it. They would definitely not buy it. And you don't tell them to that. To me, that is unethical. That is unethical sales. Number 2, telling somebody to buy something or telling them that they should buy something. So if I knock at your door and I have this charity and I'm like, hey, like, do you want to sign up? And you say no. And I'm like, sign up. And I just tell you to sign up. And I say, like, you have to, where I'm almost trying to take over your decision-making faculty. That's unethical sales. Number 3, asking for the sale before understanding the prospect. So if, let's say I work at a college or a university and maybe I'm doing a display at a mall, and you come up to me and, you know, and you're kind of curious about this degree or program that I'm offering, and maybe you're interested in something like engineering. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is for you. And I get you to sign up, but I'm not actually learning about what kind of engineering or what kind of career goals you have or what's your purpose for learning about engineering. That would be unethical sales. Because in this scenario, I don't know for sure that what I have is correct for you. And I run the risk of mis-selling or selling something that is false or wrong for you. And if I do that, then I've wasted your money and I've created a break in my own personal integrity. And so that is unethical sales. Number 4, disallowing time or space for a prospect to think. So if I say something to you like, come on, there's no time, come on, go, come on. And you're like, wait, hold on. I've never heard of this thing before. I have to figure out if I want it. I'm like, no, there's no time for that. Come on. That is unethical sales, because in order for it to be an ethical sale, you need to have time to go inside and check if this is correct for you. If I disallow that and you buy under those circumstances, that's unethical. And then fifth, finally, is implying that this product is more than what it is. So if I'm selling you a bike, I would want to tell you about the bike and tell you about what's good about it, what's superior about this bike compared to other bikes. And then what I might do in order to encourage you to buy it, I might say, you're going to have all of this freedom. You'll be able to bike anywhere. You can bike so far and you won't have to repair this bike because of how durably it's made. And so you'll be free to go in all these different directions. And this will open up your ability to see friends who are far away and so on and so forth. And so I'm telling you about all the benefits that are associated with this bike. And so this is an important element of sales. But then if I take it further and I say that this bike is going to bring you satisfaction, and I want to link right here this conversation to what we spoke about last week about absolute versus relative actualization. And so if you saw that video and if you know the difference, then it's like if I promise you that something that will offer relative actualization will result in absolute actualization, that's false, that's unethical. But to bring it back to our conversation here, if you haven't seen that video, I really highly recommend watching that if you haven't though, is that if I say buying this bike will make you happy, because purchasing a product can't make you happy. Adding something to your life can't make you happy. It won't show you how to be happy. True happiness, aside from like a momentary shift in mood and cortisol, dopamine, whatever, like true satisfaction can only happen in a now moment. And so by saying that you are going to attain, by implying that you're going to attain deep, lasting wellness by buying this thing, that is unethical. If you take nothing else from this video and just sell something and avoid making these 5 mistakes to make your sale unethical, then that alone will open up tons of opportunity for you. The reason being is that as long as you avoid these things, then it will mean that you can trust yourself to sell. A lot of people out in the world have been taught not to trust their own power. And this includes your own persuasive power, your ability to create success for yourself. And so we're taught that if you exercise your power out in the world, you risk hurting somebody or creating chaos or making something bad for somebody else. And this is ultimately a painful and false message because it causes people to not expand into the fullness of their power and do what they're here to do on a big enough scale that they feel they want to do it on. And so I would like for you to rest assured that being persuasive and selling something is completely fine. It's completely allowed. It's completely okay. You can do it in a way that's respectful and ethical. And as long as you are, then there doesn't need to be any holding back from it. If you have a product that's good, that improves people's lives, and you're able to do the whole thing in such a way that it serves everybody that it comes in contact with, then you could almost say that it's more ethical to sell. It's almost like that. But we can definitely say for sure that it's there for you to do. You can and you should, and this is a good thing for you to do out into the world. Especially if you avoid these 5 things. Now here's another pitfall that you can avoid when it comes to moving along your sales journey. And that is you are going to avoid all the unethical stuff, which is great, perfect, amazing. But then we don't want you to run the risk of doing ineffective sales or sales that doesn't sell anything. And so here are 2 qualities about ineffective sales that we're also going to avoid. showing the product without explaining the value. So in my work as a coach, as a productivity coach, if I go up to somebody on the street and I say, hey, would you like some productivity coaching? It's $100 or $500, whatever it is. Then they'll almost certainly say no. They'll almost certainly say no. Why? Because they don't really know what it is. And I haven't explained the value of it to them. And I haven't shared the transformative effect in terms of the possibility, the potential in our work together and where that could lead them. If I did that, if I explained all of that to them, then they would be able to make an informed choice and say yes or no. But if I just say, hey, do you want this thing? Or if I say, hey, do you want some HVAC or do you want like a new vacuum or something? You're probably going to say no. Like generally speaking, when somebody offers to sell us something, the default is no, unless the value of it can be explained to us. So that's ineffective sales 1. And then ineffective sales 2 is collapsing the price or collapsing on the sale. So say, if I'm in a sales conversation with somebody who wants to sign up with me for a coaching package, let's say it's a 24-session coaching package, and I say, okay, here's the price. And they're really, really interested. They really, really want to. And they're like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know. Then because I'm empathetic and because I'm loving and I want to take care of everybody, I will feel a natural inclination to collapse the price and make it less so that it'll feel more comfortable for them. And this can be very challenging, but I've discovered that it's much more respectful to stay solid and uncontracted and allow the prospect to meet me where I am, assuming everything else is a go. I want to give them a chance to rise up to the occasion. And because if I collapse my price, then I run the risk of creating a relationship with resentment in it, where I'm not getting paid enough and I feel kind of resentful about it, but I still have to show up because they did sign up and the whole thing feels weird. What we want to do is create a business agreement where both parties feel properly supported and both parties feel like the investment and the price is right, so there's nothing in the way of us diving into this together. So now, I'm going to share with you 4 points for effective sales. So now we're getting into this territory of how to actually sell. I have a step-by-step after this, but these 4 points are going to sort of share with you the general fragrance of skillful, masterful sales that leaves everybody feeling uplifted. Number 1 is enthusiasm. Selling something that you believe in. What we don't want to do is generate false enthusiasm. So if I'm like, starting now, at any moment, if you're the first of 5 to buy, then you can get a and I'm like, kind of generating all this kind of like false, stupid kind of energy and trying to like blast energy into your life. That is not ethical. But for example, in the beginning of this video and still to this, to this moment now, I personally so believe in sales and I so believe in the importance of it. And I so love it just as its own thing. Like I just love it as a concept. I love it as an area of study. I've devoted a lot of my life to it that I imagine if you've been watching this far and if you're relatively receptive to what I'm describing, you are also starting to feel that enthusiasm as well. And so this is me leading the relationship between you and me right now by emoting, by allowing myself to emote with enthusiasm and giving you an opportunity to vibrate sympathetically with it, giving you an opportunity to sync up with it and get a sense of what this feels like as well. And so through this rapport, through this cultivation of enthusiasm, sales take place. Sales can't take place without the enthusiasm. Number 2, explaining the value. So we were talking about that earlier, and I'll get into that a little bit more. Number 3, explaining the stakes. Now this is a little trickier, and it took me a little more time to figure this out, because the difference between this video on sales and other ones that you'll find, most other stuff on sales, and I know because I've read the books, I've seen the trainings, and I've spent tons and tons of hours learning about sales. A lot of the language that you'll get is I-it style language. So I-it style language is, it's like if I were to coach you on how to solve an issue with your plumbing or your electricity or your brickwork, where it's like, okay, take it out, put it in. If you do it this way, it should work. If you don't do it the other way, it won't work. But then we use this kind of language with people where it's like, okay, use these kinds of words and it will work. People will buy from you. Don't use these words because they won't work and people won't buy from you. I don't like that kind of speech, because if we ever talk about what works with people and what doesn't, it feels like manipulation. It feels like I'm trying to use somebody's psychology to get their money from them. And then what I would find is, going about my own life and my own sales journey with my business, is that a lot of the times I would pull my punches, and there are actually techniques that I could use that could actually probably generate a ton of money that I don't, because it would weaken my integrity. Because people would leave my midst feeling used or feeling manipulated or feeling like they got tricked. And I can't stand the feeling of somebody walking away from me feeling like they got tricked. So therefore I don't use these tactics, and instead my focus is on authenticity. Now the reason why I say this to you is that there is a very persuasive way of making a sale, which is called speaking to the stakes, describing what are the stakes. In other words, what do you stand to win that is incredibly important to win? And what do you stand to lose that's very important that you don't lose? And especially when it comes to the fear of loss, where it's like, say, you know, if I'm in a productivity conversation with somebody, and we're discussing maybe getting on board for a big long package, and if I were to start saying, if you don't master this, then you may not ever become sufficiently productive, that can evoke fear in a person. And then when a person feels fear, then they can be more easily persuaded to do something. And yet at the same time, if you don't explain the stakes, and this is something that absolutely must be grappled with, if you don't explain the stakes about what you stand to win and what you stand to lose, then your messaging has no potency. Then it's like you're selling Pokemon cards to somebody who doesn't care about Pokemon. It's like, there's no reason why I should buy it, and there's no reason for me to buy it. And so therefore, as I've contemplated this, I've concluded that you can talk about the stakes without fear-mongering. And you can even talk somebody through that. So it's like, you know, let's say you're selling an insurance package, which is a really good example for this. So it's like life insurance. And let's say the life insurance salesperson is saying, like, you know, if somebody dies, you're not going to get anything from it. But if you get this insurance and somebody dies, then you'll get money for the funeral and so forth. And the insurance person may say, look, I want you to realize that heaven forbid something were to happen to you. Like, I'm not like, it would be my preference that you live a long, fruitful, bountiful, good life. And, you know, with all the good things. But if something were to happen to you and you don't have this insurance, then you could be in a real problem. You could be in real trouble. And the possibility of this is real. And it's respectful, in my opinion, of the life insurance salesperson to say this, because it's the truth. This is the situation you'd be in. These are the bills you'd have to pay. Here are the hospital bills. Here are the funeral bills. Here's all these things, you know, and you could be in a position where you may need to pay these. Whereas if you get this insurance, you won't have to. And so this is ethical sales because you're explaining the stakes. So the unethical version would be saying like something terrible could happen to you and it'd be really bad. And you know what? It's very likely that something terrible is going to happen to you. I just feel it. I just know it. So therefore you need to buy this thing in order to keep yourself safe. This is the only way. So again, that would be the unethical version of it. So basically speaking about the stakes, speaking to what can be won and can be lost, and making sure that the prospect is aware of this in order to make a decision is ethical and important and essential. Another element of ethical and effective sales, the fourth and final one, is creating opportunity windows. This is something that you can do. So for example, if you have something that is usually $1,000 and instead you're selling it for $900, and and for only this week I'm selling it for $900, it is your sovereign privilege to do that, to create windows where where your product is more approachable and people can get at it at a lower rate if they're willing to act right now. This is something that you can do. So I'm going to get into the 5 steps on how to sell something. And you may recognize this from other stuff that you've read or learned on selling. And for me, this is the formula that I stick to whenever I'm going to sell something, whether it's my own stuff. If somebody hired me with their company to sell their products, this is exactly how I'd go about it. And I feel a high degree of confidence that if you were to use this, it will just create tons and tons of money for you. Remember, like as a salesperson, you can be in somebody's company, you can work for somebody as a salesperson, but only in this context do we use the term work for very loosely. In other words, if you're a salesperson for a company and you bring in money to the company, you are generally one of the most appreciated members of the team and the most highly rewarded and seen as the most highly essential people because you're making it rain. You're bringing in money for the company. So this is, if you're looking for a job that's future-proof, really, and as I'm thinking about it now, as I'm considering it, this is something that may possibly be automated by AI, but it strikes me as one of the last things that will be automated by AI. This is just such a personal, important thing to assist somebody through the sales process. So therefore it's future-proof. That's the point I'm making. So here we go, how to sell something. Number 1, start with a product that you believe in. Now, the idea here is that you want to be as holistic and as integrous as possible. For me, I very, very, very deliberately chose to sell something and live my life behind a product that I believe in. That, as far as I'm concerned, anything that comes in contact with my business and my product should come out better and enhanced as a result. So, for example, you're watching this video, you should come away from this video with your life enhanced as a result. Anybody that buys from me, the same thing. Anybody that does business with me as a partner, the same thing. I'm selling something that's not a physical product, so it's really easy to ship. It doesn't cost gas or fuel or anything. So my sort of stuff has an advantage here. So if you're considering, let's say you're at the beginning, suppose you're in the phase of considering what business you want to make. Really do your best to align yourself with something that is going to enhance the world. So, for example, what's it made of? Is it made out of plastic, or is it made out of some sort of sustainable fiber? How is it being shipped? Are you spending too much? Is too much fuel being burnt to ship the thing? Are you selling something that's good for a person's health? So say it's a beverage or a food. Is it soda? Is it sugary drinks that will deteriorate the health of the people that you're selling to? Is it junk food? Is it too sugary? Are you selling a form of entertainment that diminishes people in some way, that makes them feel bad about themselves, or takes advantage of people in some way? So I want to really invite you now to align yourself with a product that is holistic. Holistic meaning acknowledging the connectedness of you with everything else, so that when your product goes out into the world, the collective of everything is enhanced as a result. If your product has this quality about it, even if it's like, say, you're selling massage or sandwiches or advice or you're consulting or whatever it is, then through your knowing and your confidence in this product, you're so centered in yourself that you can just talk about it, and the way you talk about it will reflect how much you believe in it. And then the sales will happen very naturally and organically as a result of you talking about it, such that no persuasion is needed. You don't have to do anything else. All you have to do is just talk about it. And if you're thinking of innovating, if you're thinking of creating something and you don't know yet if it's something that you believe in, then may I suggest that you begin conversations with other people and begin to give them samples of that product to see if it helps, if it hits its mark. And we're going to get more into this in number 2. So number 2, and this one will be the thing that the thing that will meet the most resistance, I think, to the viewers here, which is to show up in people's world. I want to really encourage you and coach you and impel you to show up in people's world. So you don't necessarily have to be on the street the way I was or do door to door. But if you have something to sell, or if you're thinking of creating something that you're going to sell and you need opinions of other people, send out emails or call somebody on the phone. Like, actually pick up your phone, actually dial their number, and actually talk to them on the phone. Get on live calls with them, Zoom calls, meeting calls. Schedule a time to meet up with somebody for coffee. Insert yourself into people's experience. Post something on Reddit. It's okay to do that. You can post on Reddit and like a market research question. I'm going to make this. Would anybody be interested in this? If anybody responds, I'll give them a free version of it. So, be willing to show up in people's world. Be willing to ask things of them. Ask if they want something. And cultivate a willingness to be annoying. And so what I mean by this is, I'm not saying that you're going to be annoying. In fact, we're much, much, much more likely to assume that we're being annoying when in fact we're not. But by cultivating a willingness to be perceived as annoying, then it has this effect of just getting it over with. It's like, just get over it, get over with it, get past it. Allow people to have their opinion of you. How do you do this? So I have a whole other video that's called How to Stop Caring What People Think of You. But a quick exercise that you can do right now in the meantime is you can just say this out loud and just practice declaring this. I give permission to everybody to have their opinion of me. I hereby allow people to have their opinion of me. Whatever they're going to think of me, let them think that. That's fine. However people are going to perceive me, let them perceive me that way. I will tell you this. The more visibility you get, the more likely you're going to get people that don't like you. It's a basic certainty. The more you sell, the more visible you become, the more this fractional representation of people that have just made up their mind that they're not going to like you, the more that particular fraction of people will grow, and you'll hear from them and they'll write. I have videos on TikTok where like there's over 100 comments, 200 comments, people saying, excuse me, people saying, I love this. Wait, I'm just making sure my microphone's on. They'll say, I love this, thank you. Oh my God, this is so helpful, this is great. And then there'll be like 1 in 100 where they're like, this is bullshit, this sucks, this is wrong. And these are just the numbers you run. So by cultivating a willingness to let these people exist and let them say their thing is just so valuable, as opposed to letting them be a stopping factor, which would be a huge tragedy. So show up in people's lives. Don't push energy into them. Don't attempt to trap them or don't attempt to trap them. Instead, harness the power of their desire. So if you have something you're selling, ask them, do you want this? And do you want the result that this can create? And if they say yes, then talk about it. Don't tell them that they need it. Tell them, is this the kind of result that you're after? And they're like, yes. It's like, okay, here's why you need this then, if what you said is true. That's ethical sales. Unethical is coming into somebody's life and saying, you need this. That's wrong. See the difference? Number 3, learn about your prospect. So now you've come up into their lives and they're willing to say, like when you show up in somebody's world, you're mostly going to get rejected. You're mostly going to get said no to. 99 out of 100 people are going to say no to you. Probably. Maybe a little bit less, but you can at least psychologically set yourself up for that. Most people will just say, no, I'm not interested. They're not going to be rude. They'll just say, no, I'm not interested. That's just the water that you swim in as a salesperson. And then one person will say, I am interested. Yeah, tell me more. I'd like to learn. And so then you can tell them a bit about it, but then switch into learning mode. Ask them. So what kind of results are you looking for? What are your concerns? What are your worries? What needs to get done? What have you been struggling with? What have you been trying that's not working? Get all that information in, and don't stop until you've really learned about them and what they're going through. And then determine if what you have to sell is going to solve their problem. Very importantly, be sure that your thing is going to solve their problem. And if so, go into step 4. Here's step 4. Clearly demonstrate how your product provides value. Through signing up with coaching from me, I'm going to help you through all of your issues regarding consistency and self-discipline. You're going to get your habits in order. You're going to get clear on what you're doing. We're going to look at old emotional wounds and resolve them. And we're going to get you into a place where you can grow it and going forward towards starting your business. That would be one example. Demonstrate how this thing will get them from here to there. Make it clear for them. Show them how it's a guarantee that your thing is going to work. And then finally, number 5 is facilitate the purchase. Have the purchase ready, have the package ready, have the landing page ready, have the PayPal link ready. Be able to process their credit card, be ready to take their cash, be ready to sign them up, be ready to have your product ready to give to them, already wrapped in plastic or composable fiber. And then very, very importantly, once the sale is tendered, that's when your prospect, now your customer, is going to feel the most vulnerable because they just handed over all their money to you. This is when they're going to go, oh my God, I acted too soon. That was an impulse purchase. I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. So you're going to want to demonstrate to them that you're not going anywhere. So it's like, I'm right here. I got you. Here's my email. If you have any questions, hit me up. I'm here for you. It's a great time to say, I'm here for you. When I was signing up people for monthly donations, I'd always tell them and say, like, you got our email, you have our number. Call us anytime. And then that's very reassuring. And then they'll leave your presence grateful to have met you, grateful to have bought from you. So, number 1, start with a product you believe in. Number 2, show up in people's world continuously with a willingness to experience rejection. Blessing everybody that goes by. Every time they say no, thank you, all good. Number 3, learn about your prospect, learn about what they're going through, learn about their desires and worries, and make sure that what you have is a match for them. Number 4, clearly demonstrate how what you have is a match for them so that they can see it and they can rest assured this is the right thing for them. And then number 5, tender the sale. Make the exchange, facilitate it, make the sale frictionless and pleasant. Demonstrate to them that you're not going anywhere. Demonstrate to them that you're still here and that you're hoping that this will be an ongoing sales relationship, so you're here to provide value. And that's how to sell. A few closing thoughts. Be sure not to sell for less than you're worth. Really honestly assess the value of what you have. Don't charge less than it. Don't charge more. Both are a sin in their own right. Charging less creates resentment. It's still unsustainable. Overcharging is also unsustainable. So find the right amount and charge it. Continuously focus on improving the experience, the client experience, the customer experience. Make it one of the highest, if not the highest priority to improve client customer experience so that they love doing business with you, so that they feel respected and appreciated doing business with you, so that they feel seen and acknowledged. Remembering that everything that we feel like is negative about sales is unethical sales. And that ethical sales is, we don't consider it to be sales. Like if you go to, say, an Apple store or an Android store, it's like, yeah, like that's sales. People sell you the phone. They ask, what are you looking for? You know, here are the different price ranges. Here are the different capabilities. What do you want? It can be that relaxed. Going to get a massage, going to get physio done. The physiotherapist says, all right, here's, looking at where you're at, here's what I recommend. Here's the price point. So good ethical sales is invisible. Good ethical sales means knowing what your customer wants, giving it to them, charging the price. It's when you consider it, it's the oldest profession. What profession could possibly be older besides, maybe like that of the priest or the prostitute, but even still the prostitute is still a salesperson. It's such an old profession. And it's such an evergreen profession. Like you can take this and combine it with everything else. Combine it with your ability to do marketing. Maybe we'll talk about that later. With content creation. With coaching. And then suddenly an even greater business emerges out of that. So that's sales. It's valuable. It's amazing. It's such an amazing experience to go through a sale with somebody. It's such an unusual thing. It's like whenever I would sell, like even just signing up somebody for a $20 a month donation for a charity and having them like go through the process of like, I don't know, can I afford it? Money's tight for me, but I really want to support this hospital. Okay, you take them through it. They pass through the whole thing and they come out the other end. It's like me and this person, we went through something together. It's such a crazy, beautiful experience. It can be a profoundly positive experience that people remember. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting. This video, more than any other video, will make you money. So return to it, watch it again. Please hit the like button to make sure that other people get a chance to see this so that it can outdo the other videos that are teaching unethical sales. I think we can agree that would be better for the world. If you're interested in going through the sales process with me, you can have a coaching session with me for $5. There's a link for that below. I suggest otherwise getting on my email list where I send out lots of free content and you're able to find out if I'm ever doing any sort of promo thing. And that is all. Thank you for watching. I will see you later. Goodbye.